Ahoy, mateys! This is Salim with Flip for Figs, and today I'll be unboxing and reviewing the brand new LEGO Pirates of the Caribbean Black Pearl, or Jack Sparrow's pirate ship. This is set number 10365, and we're going to be talking minifigures, build, and overall value for the money to see if this long-awaited return to Pirates of the Caribbean was worth the wait. Let's do it.
Flip for Figs.
When I flip, you flip, we flip.
Alrighty, and there she is in all of its glory, the legendary Black Pearl. This set has 2,862 pieces, was launched for LEGO Insiders on September 12th, and it did come with an exclusive gift with purchase. This compass, which is Jack Sparrow's compass, 8 official minifigures, or 9 if you include the statue at the front. The first minifigure is Jack Sparrow. He's got great printing on the front and back of the torso, as well as dual molded legs and a dual-sided head. Then you have Hector Barbosa, who, like Jack Sparrow, also has great torso design and dual molded legs. And the other side of his face reveals what happens when the sun goes down. Nice and creepy. Then you have Elizabeth Swan, really nice minifigure with torso and skirt printing, as well as a dual molded face. Then you have Will Turner, nice torso design, but no dual molded legs, and also a dual-sided face. And then from the crew, the Gibbs and Anna Maria both have dual molded faces. Anna Maria also has a great torso design, unfortunately just standard brown legs. Cotton does not have a dual-sided face, and neither does Marty. The statue is the Statue of Liberty torso and skirt piece, but I think the hair as well as the wings are exclusive to this set. There are 22 numbered bags as well as 3 additional clear plastic bags, which do have, some of the pieces for the sails in them. You get one large instruction booklet, which has nice close-up images of all of the different minifigures, as well as a history of the Black Pearl, some images of the real ship as well as the Lego one, 394 pages. The first part of the build focuses on the feature that allows the cannons to move out, and you very quickly notice it as you assemble these Technic rods, which will eventually push the cannons out. As you move on to the next set of bags, you do start seeing the movement and how the whole feature is going to work. It's very creative. Building the cannons can get repetitive, but fortunately, LEGO does space them out between different brick-built sections, so it doesn't get too tedious. I was worried that it would be like a times 10 or something like that, but you build at most 2 at a time. After every bag, it was really fun turning the back wheel to see these cannons in motion. Then the front of the ship starts coming together, and I really like the way they built this front section of the ship. The next Technic feature that you build is the one that will eventually connect to the wheel, which moves the rudder in the back. This is another great feature. The first major separate section you build is the captain's quarters, which uses some beautiful snot on top techniques to achieve the curvature. It looks really great and is easy to attach and remove. Removing that section shows, I guess, the only real interior of the ship, which has a table with some candles, a map, like a bucket with some fish. Really cozy interior. As I was building it, I was like, wait a minute, how's the bottom of this going to remove? And that's when I realized that we hadn't yet to build the bottom of the ship. So that's what comes next after the captain's quarters. And it does have these brown display stands attached to it. Once you build those, it easily slots together. The next section focuses on adding all of the different sail pieces, which can get a little repetitive, and you do have to be mindful of the way that you are placing these on top of each other, because I did make a couple errors, which was making my sails look funky. Overall, it's a really enjoyable build, and it comes together fairly quickly. However, I do wish that there was more of an interior. The only other interior, if you will, is right here where this extra rowboat goes. If you remove that, you'll kind of see this graded area, and you can pull that out, and inside there is a little section with a treasure chest, but it's really hard to kind of get in there and play around with it. They spent most of the interior on the feature letting the cannons move, So I don't know. Me personally, I think it's great because it's a lot easier to show off that feature than it would be to take off a bunch of sail pieces and show off an interior. But I know many people were disappointed with the lack of interior, or at least the lack of other, kind of areas where these minifigs can hang out, because the top of the captain's quarters area is especially bare. One thing I don't love is the way that these anchors kind of just sit there at the front, because they dangle in a bunch of different ways, and it's not always consistent. So I do wish there was a way to kind of keep those in place, as instead of just having them hang there. You could easily remove them if you wanted to, but there are some pretty substantial brick built sections, and so it does feel like not having them wouldn't be the solution, but I just don't love the way they hang there. The main feature of the ship is obviously this ability to turn and have those cannons open, which is great. I did notice, at least on mine, that some of the little doors don't stay up kind of, and so I don't know if that was just me or if everyone kind of experiences that. It's hard to notice at first glance, but as somebody who is a little obsessive about these things, it did bug me that, like, on each side one of the doors doesn't sit upright all the way. Alrighty, so is this set worth the price of admission? At $380, with only a little over 2,800 pieces, it's not the best value that LEGO has to offer. Along with Hogsmeade this year in 2025, it's one of the most overpriced sets for what you're getting. Now, this set, I do feel, at least because it has so many of those, ship pieces, which are large, as well as the sails, plus the Disney license, I do feel like, okay, it's not completely unheard of, but I think at $350 or $330, it would have been, a much better value. This is actually the first Lego Pirates of the Caribbean set that I've ever owned. Now, I have a long history with Lego Pirates, being that, I grew up in the 90s and I had a lot of those amazing Lego sets from the late 80s and 90s as a kid, including the Skull's Eye Schooner and the Redbeard's Runner. That makes this set a little special to me, just because it's the first true pirate ship that I've had, as an adult collector of Lego. I do hope that we get the Flying Dutchman as well, since it never came with the original wave. But, overall, is this set worth the price? Well, I guess that kind of depends on you and your connection with Pirates of the Caribbean. For me personally, although I love the movies, I was never the biggest fan of Pirates of the Caribbean. I know people who are obsessed with it, but for me, I think after the second movie is when I stopped kind of going to theaters to see them. So it's not my favorite franchise by any means. However, building this set makes me want to revisit it for sure. And, I think Jack Sparrow is an amazing character, and I love the ride at Disneyland. So it has a lot going for it. This is kind of an unusual addition to my collection. As you can see, I technically usually collect, these bigger building style minifig sets, if it's not Star Wars. But in this case, I just couldn't resist this all black pirate ship, especially since the original Black Pearl is a set that I wish I had gotten. Now, since I can't compare it directly to the other Black Pearl, all I can go is based off images. Obviously, this one is a lot larger, and the piece count is almost 4 times the amount, and so is the price. Now, I think that this one looks more accurate to what we see on screen, and I do love how tall it is. I think it looks very menacing. I like that there's multiple display options, but I don't, even though it's a really intuitive approach, I don't plan on switching it too often, because anytime I do take the bottom piece off, I feel like I lose some pieces, and I always worry that I'm going to make, some part of it topple over and break. In terms of an interior, I'm never one who's super fussed about interiors, either on buildings or other things. I prefer a more, fleshed out exterior, just because, like, all of these modulars behind me have incredible interiors, but I never see them, I never play with them. And so for me, it's more important to use those pieces to make the exterior as great as possible. I know not everyone feels that way. I know a lot of people do prefer a fleshed out interior. And in that case, this set is lacking, a lot of interior. You do just get the small captain's quarters, and at the rear of the ship, the section, on top of the captain's quarters is extremely empty. I think there should have at least been some sort of, um, even a bucket or something. And now it's easy to add, but it does feel like a strange omission. Like I said, I don't love the anchors. And if you remove the rowboat in the middle, it is a pretty bare ship. So, with that said, I think if I had to give this Lego set a score out of 10, I would probably give it an 8. And I still feel like it's a better value than the Lego Hogsmeade set, which is $400 with just a few hundred more pieces. To me, this has a bigger display presence, and it does feel a little more worthy of that premium price tag, especially with the way that it's displayable. It does feel like a premium display piece. But not having dual molded legs on all of the minifigures or extra, dual sided heads for all the minifigures just seems lazy in my opinion. I do think that if you're going to market these sets as adult exclusive sets, they should have the highest amount of exclusive elements. I mean, if the custom minifigure line, as well as things like brick heads or the Lego Mario sets, can have all of those printed elements, then I really think these premium collector sets should have them as well. So, do I recommend this set to other adult fans of Lego or, kids who love these bigger sets? Well, like I said, that depends on your connection with pirates. There's so many different, large sets that came out this year. You have Ninjago City Workshops, which, has, I think the same, no, more pieces than this and is like $100 less. You also have obviously Arkham Asylum, which came out in the same month, which is, $80 less with a few more pieces. And, you have the Italian Riviera. So there's no shortage of amazing Lego sets in this price range. So, I mean, if you could only buy one large set, do I think this is the one? I don't know. Unless you're a huge Pirates of the Caribbean fan or you're a huge fan of just pirate ships and you love adding more to your collection, then yes. But I don't think that it's the best choice when you compare the other Lego sets that are available now. I was really debating between getting this and Arkham Asylum. And part of me wishes I went with Arkham just because I do have a lot of, I have all of the Marvel modulars as well as the entire modular collection behind me. And so I think I would have maybe enjoyed that build as well as that display a little bit more. But I ended up going with this set just because I've never had Pirates of the Caribbean and I miss having pirate ships in my collection. Alrighty, folks. Well, I hope you enjoyed this review of the Lego Black Pearl or Jack Sparrow's pirate ship. That name change is so silly to me. I did my research and I couldn't find any negative connotations with the phrase Black Pearl. So I don't know if Disney just would have charged more for that since it's the name of one of their highest grossing movies of all time. I don't really get it. I mean, I think the best compromise, if they really wanted Jack Sparrow's name in it, is calling it Jack Sparrow's Black Pearl instead of Jack Sparrow's pirate ship. It just makes it feel like it's some bootleg set. But obviously, the name is not that serious. I think everyone is calling it the Black Pearl. In fact, if you go to lego.com and you search Black Pearl, it comes up. So we're just going to call it the Black Pearl. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this review. If you liked it, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. I will do reviews on a lot of major Lego releases, as well as I will be getting the new Death Star Day 1 and doing a speed build and review of that as well. So yeah, I hope you have a great day, and I'll catch you next time.
When I flip, you flip, we flip.